Shakur Stevenson, he's rooting for Edgar Berlanga to pull the upset against Canelo. Baby, you want baby? I know that. Right? Shakur Stevenson, he says he is rooting for the upset of the year, Edgar Berlanga, to beat Canelo Alvarez this September when they face off. So first, let me show you it, and then I'll give you guys some of my thoughts. I made this post. Follow me. I'm the best in boxing history in the digital age covering boxing. BOXINGEGO 1 on the gram. So Shakur Stevenson, right? You guys see the post. He said he is rooting for his boy Edgar Berlanga, right? Rooting. Can y'all see that? Yeah, okay. Boom. You never know. Okay, Shakur Stevenson posted at 4:38 p.m. rooting for my boy Edgar, meaning Edgar Berlanga, to pull the upset of the year. Now, rooting is fine. But here at BOXINGEGO, we don't really go off rooting. Rooting is fanboyism, right? I'm a fan of boxing, of course, but I'm not a fanatical fan where I'm not going to speak my truest thoughts and not be real if I'm going to do a fight prediction. Now, the thing I find very humorous and very funny in the sport of boxing, you take a person like Shakur Stevenson, if you follow him on social media, right? And Shakur Stevenson will insinuate that almost anyone who disagrees with him as it pertains to boxing, he'll hurl like some kind of insult at them and say either you don't know ish about boxing, or most people don't know anything about boxing, or Roger Mayweather was right and most guys don't understand this sport. And he'll sound like really a separatist, and he'll sound like he's just this advanced prototype when it comes to boxing, and small minds could never understand this sport of boxing, but he somehow gets it. But here's the thing. Well, let me give you guys some examples. So, for example, I've seen it. Shakur Stevenson. If you say to Shakur Stevenson, because I've already seen the interactions on social media, if you claim that Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov was either a close fight or a tough fight for Bud or whatever, I seen Shakur respond to that negatively. So your big bro, Terrence Crawford, just fought Israel Madrimov. I mean, the fight flopped, but it was a solid technical fight. And I do believe that the fight was, in general, it was pretty tough. I'm not saying that Bud lost the fight, but it was tougher than expected. And you got to understand, perception also comes into play. Bud is a guy with 41 fights. Madrimov had 11 fights. 10 of those were wins. So he's some complete unknown, doesn't speak the most English. No one really knew him. Yeah, he has an amateur pedigree and stuff like that, but definitely casuals aren't going to know these things. They're going to look at his Wikipedia, his Backrec, and say, hey, this guy got 41 fights. This guy got 11 fights. This should be a no question, especially when Bud's on the pound for pound list. So moving on, if you suggested that the fight was just tough, like you don't even have to say that Bud lost the fight. If you said it was tough, Shakur was responding to people that were saying stuff like that. And he was like, you guys just don't know, you don't get boxing and things like that. Or for his career, he's fighting Joe Cordina. The fight sucks. Nobody wants to see you fight, or nobody would have selected you to be fighting a guy from 130 when you're a top guy at 135 and you got a mouth and you talk about Tank and say Frank Martin's not elite. No one really wants to see you move a guy up when there's plenty names at 35 and 40 that would all make for better fights. Shakur is going out of his way because that is his next assignment. So he's trying to talk up Joe Corona or whatever this dude's name is and try to build him. Oh, he's a two-time champ and he just couldn't make weight, so that's why he got stopped. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see that fight. You just selected this man, right? And you got a person like Shakur, when he says something like Frank Martin is not elite. Okay, put Frank Martin in with Joe Cordina, whatever, and we'll see what happens. Frank Martin liable to beat the out of him at 135. Stop playing, bro. It's a domestic level dude. But again, if you say these things, Shakur will make it sound like you simply don't know about boxing. You're not versed like he is. But here's the thing. If you say Crawford Madrimov was a tough fight, you don't know ish about boxing. But many people thought it was a tough fight. Some people even had Madrimov winning or said it was a draw. So you make a blanket statement that's supposed to encompass everybody. Oh, you fans on Twitter, you just don't know ish about boxing if you thought the fight was close with Bud and Madrimov. Well, guess what? Canelo Alvarez, who got more fights than you and has been boxing longer than you, he said that Bud didn't look splendid and he thought the fight could have been a draw or Madrimov won. So that's why you can't just make blanket statements. So Canelo doesn't. I get it. Okay, some guy on Twitter on his couch, us YouTubers, we don't know boxing, whatever. So Canelo don't know boxing because he said the same thing Boxing Ego said. Moving on. Fast forward to my current point. You're rooting for Berlanga, and for me, this is a no-brainer to pick Canelo. So who doesn't know ish about boxing? There's a fight where majority of the public definitely believes that Berlanga has never faced anyone like Canelo. Yes, he's bigger. Yes, he's younger. He's never fought anyone the skill level of Canelo. Plus, he done made Canelo mad by, you know, trash talking or whatnot. And you're publicly, because he's your friend, you're rooting for him. And you, in the same breath, are saying other people don't know ish about boxing. But do you know ish about boxing if you're picking a massive underdog who there's a high probability that he loses here? Even Teofimo Sr., and I respect him for this. Teofimo's from New York, and he said, Senior, he says, oh, yeah, we know both guys. Canelo, we know Berlanga. He was like, I got to be real with you, bro. Berlanga, he's going to lose. He like, I hope he doesn't see this and get mad. It's business. But he was like, Canelo probably finna stop him. And then you got Shakur Stevenson, who's saying, I'm rooting for the upset of the year. But again, anytime someone says something about Joe Cordina or Terrence Crawford Madrimov, nobody knows anything about boxing. But you're out here pulling for a massive underdog, to say the least, against Canelo, who's been fighting since age 15, fought way better competition, and got like 60 plus fights. And Berlanga got dropped by a guy that Canelo knocked out. And the guy, Billy Joe Saunders is the guy. Canelo knocked out Billy. And it's not just about triangle theories. I'm just showing you, flexing, showing I know my boxing. But on the Wilder Fury card, Edgar Berlanga got dropped and he started punching his gloves on the ground and got dropped hard by a guy that Billy Joe Saunders knocked out, who later got knocked out by Canelo Alvarez. So it's just like, I don't know. I think the Edgar Berlanga, picking him to beat Canelo, you got to show me, because I'm picking Canelo. I think that's a no-brainer. I think Munguia, I knew Munguia wasn't going to beat. I knew Munguia wasn't going to beat Canelo, but I would have, if I had to pick someone, I would have gave Munguia a better shot than Berlanga. But what do I know? I'm just a silly YouTuber. Subscribe to the channel because I am the best YouTuber when it comes to boxing. Toodles.